The fact that we're not seeing that here is very problematic. That's a problem. All right. So again, to me, that's a warning sign of issues to come. The S&P is underperforming. You better believe it that Bitcoin is going to struggle as well. It's a risk asset right now. All right. Yes, I do believe there'll be a pivot point where it becomes more like gold. That's not yet. We still have to wait for that to happen. Probably coincides with regulation and bigger money starting to feel comfortable getting in the crypto space. As a trader, you have to remember that you're going to be wrong. So it's really a mindset. It's not the cocky mindset of, oh, I just want to double, triple, quadruple my account in a month. It's the mindset of, I may be wrong. I've been burned many times. So let me start small. And that actually increases your overall profitability. And the key here, guys, is to understand that these game plans for me are a way for me to prep, but me to also help you prep. So again, what I find, and this is just from my own personal kind of upbringing as a trader and learning the ropes, is that those of us that look at charts ahead of time, that kind of analyze what's moving on the day, basically formulating a game plan in your head, it helps you essentially make more money. If you look at people that, again, just jump in head first without a game plan versus people that game plan, you're going to see a difference in financial profits and stability and long-term, basically financial independence. We got some basic action here in the dollar. The dollar is weaker this morning. The US dollar is trading lower. What does that mean, guys? You should know this by now. If the dollar is weaker, assets like stocks and crypto are going to be higher. Now, the S&P is not that much higher. The spiders are barely trading up on the day, just a little bit. Last I checked, just over $1. Actually, right now, only 21 cents higher on the SPY. So again, what that does is it tells us that even with a sinking dollar, the markets aren't getting much of a bounce. And actually, this is something very important to understand. And what we can clearly see here on the US dollar chart is that we had a down day, a small up day, and then another down day today. If we flip over to the SPY chart here, what we can see is that we had the down day and then a week up day when the dollar fell. Notice how we had a red candle here. Look at this. We opened here, and by the end of the day, even with a fall in the dollar a couple days ago, we did not have much of an up day. Yesterday, same thing. The dollar was a little stronger. The markets tried to fight, and they fell back down. Today, again, the dollar is sinking, and we're seeing the markets barely catching a bit. In fact, the S&P just went negative as I'm saying this. Now, the reason why this is important is that over the past years, and I mean, I'm literally talking years, the market has had an inverse relationship with the dollar. When the dollar falls, the markets rip higher. The fact that we're not seeing that here is very problematic. That's a problem. All right. So again, to me, that's a warning sign of issues to come. But ultimately, again, this is a market that is in troubled waters. We're basically entering a phase now where, yes, inflation's coming down, but not enough to get the Fed to step on the sidelines, let alone cut rates. And that is a major problem. Bitcoin remains in this channel. Notice the channel here, guys. Now, notice Bitcoin is getting a little bit of an up move today. All right. That's a weak dollar response. That's normal. All right, now my issue here is that, number one, we have a defined major top at 25,200 to 300. So that's your line in the sand. As long as that holds, you have to be on the negative side of Bitcoin. It hit resistance. It's pulling back off resistance. The other issue here is, take a look at this. Basically, we had the 4 down days in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what's going on here? Let's draw a trend line in and put it in right there. That's a bear flag, an in spirit of bear flag starting to form. So when I see this pattern, what it tells me is that probabilities are now favoring downside on Bitcoin. Even if we get a little bit of a bounce here and there, as long as this pattern holds, essentially as long as price stays inside of this channel, you have to start thinking that Bitcoin has downside. Where's downside going to take you? The low end of the channel would be your first target. That's around 22,400. If that breaks, which, by the way, upsloping channels, if you look at 1 million upsloping channels, you'll see about 80% to 90% of them eventually break to the downside. Could be a month from now, could be 6 months, doesn't matter. The point is, an upsloping trend line, 80 to 90% of the time, will break to the downside. My guess is the break to the downside happens within 2 months, if not within a 1 month period. Gold continues to bounce. I call this to a T. All right. So when we were number one, you guys know I've been bullish on gold for a long time. All right. But there was a point when we were up here on the chart of gold where I said to you guys, listen, I'm not advocating buying gold up here. Let it pull back. It's run too far. It's run too fast. No chart goes straight up, at least on a healthy basis, and no chart goes straight down on a healthy basis. So what do you want to do? You want to wait for a retrace to the scene of the crime. This is classic methodology from the Winning Trader series, available at verifiedinvestingeducation.com. And I teach this stuff. I teach all the ins and the outs there. But the bottom line is, look at the retrace and look at the level. Pivot high, choppy breakout, retrace to the scene of the crime. That was your buying opportunity right there. I picked up some GDX. I picked up some other things out there. Again, if you're a member of InTheMoneyStocks.com, you know exactly what I picked up over the last week or so as we were coming into this level. Gold is having a nice bounce today. GDX is up, etc. All right. I still believe gold will be the best performing asset. I'm anticipating a drop on the S&P 500, another 22% to downside to this long-term trend. Now, you'll have big bounces along the way. Don't go and misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we're going straight there in the next 3 weeks. I'm saying that over the next 12 to 18 months, we are going to meander down to this level down here. All right. And again, that's right around 3,000 on the S&P 500. So what that means is that S&P is going to underperform. If the S&P is underperforming, you better believe it that Bitcoin is going to struggle as well. It's a risk asset right now. All right. Yes, I do believe there'll be a pivot point where it becomes more like gold. That's not yet. We still have to wait for that to happen. Probably coincides with regulation and bigger money starting to feel comfortable getting in the crypto space. There's going to be a point where the dollar is falling, and this is the scariest of all. The dollar falls and the markets fall too. That's the worst case scenario. That's telling you we're in a very bad recession when that's happening. And even with lower rates, and this is the key, even with lower rates, what that's telling you is that the market doesn't believe that the recession will end, meaning the Fed has lost control. And that is the worst case of all scenarios, where the Fed loses control. What we can see, guys, is silver just tagged some major support. Pivot low right here. Look at the bounce on silver yesterday. You're coming back in just a little bit. Partially, you're getting a small bounce in the dollar now, even though the dollar is net down. But again, we are getting a little bit of a bounce here to the upside. So I believe silver is a longer term buy. It's a little bit trickier. Remember, silver is not as easy to map as gold. The reason why it's not as easy to map is because it's an industrial metal plus a store of safety. So you have to understand that gold is a pure store of safety. It basically is, right? And when people are fearful, they buy gold. When the dollar drops, you buy gold. All right. That's just the simplicity of it. With silver, you have industrial production issues. So if the economy really slows, silver could struggle. And I say could, it could struggle just a little bit if there's a less demand on the industrial side for silver. So it doesn't mean, by the way, I still love silver mid to long term, but it just means as we go through this period of kind of maybe recessionary action with jobs numbers potentially weakening over the next few months, etc., it could be an issue here. So natural gas, everyone was saying, oh, Gareth's lost his ability here. He doesn't know what he's doing. All of his previous amazing calls were a fluke because natural gas is going to go down and it's never coming back. Well, what do we see here? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up days in a row, small pullback right here. And ultimately, I ended up making a profit on my Boyle trade with members of InTheMoneyStocks.com. This is one of the reasons. And by the way, it wasn't that my first entry was perfect. It was off. I was incorrect. Let me rephrase. I was incorrect on my first entry. Traders are going to be wrong. I'm going to be wrong. I've been wrong many times before. I'll be wrong again. The key is, how do you manage the position? As a trader, you have to remember that you're going to be wrong. The retail crowd and listen, I was like this in the beginning. And listen, for years I was like this, where I would be like, oh, that's a great spot on this trade. Or on this stock or on this crypto or whatever. So I'm going to go put all the money I think I'm going to need into this trade at that point. And ultimately, I'd find out that I was wrong quite a few times. And the key was, I didn't have the money because I put too much in. I didn't have enough money to maneuver and trade around the position. Okay. So again, the key is that by doing this, folks, by dollar cost averaging, by starting small, it's a mentality change. Stop your mind from thinking it's a no-brainer winner. And every time you take a position, assume you might be wrong. And by assuming you might be wrong, you're not going to put a ton of money in, I guarantee it. So it's really a mindset. It's not the cocky mindset of, oh, I just want to double, triple, quadruple my account in a month. It's the mindset of, I may be wrong. I've been burned many times. So let me start small. And that actually increases your overall profitability.